Hi everyone, welcome to Job Fever. So after a long time, we are going to learn new thing which is related to caching in Spring Boot. So firstly, we'll try to understand basic concept of caching, and then we'll try to understand how can we implement caching in Spring Boot application. So this is the intro video. So we'll try to understand basic things. So we are going to cover in this video what is cache. After that, we'll cover what is caching, then types of caching, then caching in a Spring Boot application, and then when to use what. Okay, so we are going to cover all these things in this intro video. Okay, so let's start. So firstly, we'll try to understand what is cache. Okay, so this is a basic thing of cache. So a cache is a high speed data storage layer that stores a subset of data so that future requests for that data are served faster than accessing the primary data source like a, a database, disk, or remote service. The goal is to improve performance and reduce the cost of accessing data. Okay, so instead of memory, what we did here, we stored in cache memory for the fast performance. So this is a storage memory. Okay, like RAM, we can store data in cache as well. So this is the basic thing of cache. So what is caching? So we'll try to understand what is caching. So caching is a technique used in computing to temporarily store frequently access data in a location that allows for faster retrieval. So caching is a technique. Okay, so by which we can cache. Okay, so caching is nothing but it is a technique to cache your data. So how can we cache? So we'll try to understand. So instead of caching data from a slower source like a database, disk, or external API, every time it's needed, a system stores a copy of data in a cache memory. Okay, so which is a high speed storage layer. So if you're trying to store your data in database, disk, and external API, so it will be a slower process. So if you want to retrieve it fast, then you can store in cache memory, so it will be the fast access will be fast for. Okay, so we are going to understand cache type. Okay, so these are the types of cache. So we'll try to understand one by one. So cache type, we have in memory cache, distributed cache, browser cache, CDN cache, and database cache, and CPU cache. Okay, so if you will see in memory caches, so location where it will be stored, the location will be for in memory cache will be RAM. Okay, and what will be the scope? Scope will be local to app. An example, we can use caffeine or cache to achieve in Spring Boot application. Okay, so I have made this uh, mm, mm, this table according to Spring Boot so that it will be easy to understand, and speed will be fast. And if we'll talk about a distributed cache, so location will be external system. Okay, so this will not be stored in RAM, it will be stored in the external system, and scope will be across the server. Actually, we use distributed cache for the microservices application. Okay, an example we can implement with the help of Redis. Okay, and speed will be fast network. And third, browser cache we are going to see. So location will be browser, user browser, so it will store in the user browser only. Like if you are using Google Chrome, Mozilla, so it will be stored in your browser level only. And scope per user, it will be per user scope. An example, it will be a static files, and speed will be also a fast. And CDN cache, so CDN edge servers, scope will be global users. Okay, example, you can use Cloudflare, you can use like we have AWS Cloudflare. Okay, and speed, it will be very fast if you are using this CDN cache. content, CDN stands for content delivery network. Okay, database cache, if you'll see, so app layer and DB layer. Okay, location, app specific, Redis for querying, you can use for database, uh, and speed will be fast. And CPU cache you can use, location will be CPU chip, and scope will be hardware level. And this is example of L1, L2, L3, and extremely fast. CPU level will be always fast. So we are going to, so we have understood the caching. So the cache type to avoid our confusion, and we'll try to, we are going to achieve in memory cache and distributed cache in our application. Okay, so we'll see example. And we can also achieve the database caching. In database caching, like we have first level caching, second level caching. Okay, if you are using Hibernate, so in that scenario you will get the first level caching and second level caching. Okay, so their first level caching will be the by default caching layer, and second level caching you can use the any library or any cache provider. Okay, but in a Spring Boot what we did, so it's abstraction on your Hibernate or JPA. So you can also use all this, like your like you can also use the caffeine, ES cache in a Spring Boot application to achieve your caching part. You can use this caffeine cache or Redis cache, you can also use in database caching. Okay, individually. But if you want to use inside your Spring Boot application, then you can use okay, both. So in memory cache, what will be the, when can we use in memory cache, when can we use distributed cache, we'll see. Okay, so let's move to next slide. So caching in Spring Boot, in memory cache. Okay, so when can we use in memory cache? So this is the cache, by Guava cache we can achieve, by caffeine we can achieve, and by EH cache we can achieve in memory caching in Spring Boot. We can achieve. Okay, any library you can use. So for using any library we have to uh, pom.xml, or if you are using Maven, then you have to add dependency in your pom.xml, caffeine, ESCache or Guava, and you have to do some configuration in application properties. So for if you are using distributed caching, so we have Apache Ignite, we have Redis, we have Hazelcast. Okay, so we have all this distributed caching uh, provider name. Okay, so you can use anyone. Okay, so where to use in memory and where to use distributed, we will see in next slide. Okay, so these are the service, these are the provider of cache provider. We can use anyone for the distributed caching, and these are for in memory caching. Okay, so you can use any service provider. Okay, for any caching provider for your to achieve in memory caching. So in memory caching, that means that it will store in memory level. Memory level, that means the RAM level. So this is the picture by which you can easily understand in memory caching. So this is our Spring Boot application. Okay, and let's imagine we have started on 8080 port. Okay, so if you request, your user or any UI will send request to your application. Okay, a Spring Boot application. So in a Spring Boot application, we have all layer, like we have controller. Okay, and we have service. Okay, and we have DAO, that means the here data access layer, or here your repository will be there. So in this repository, you will write your query to get the data or save the data from DB. Okay, so if you haven't cache, so directly it will go, yeah, if you want to get the data from your DB, so it will go to DB and it will fetch data from DB. Let's imagine it is a get request. If you want to get data, get employee. Okay, what will be the employee ID? So you have to provide the get data, get, this is get API, and you want to fetch data of the employee, which is which employee ID is 1. Okay, so the request will come to your application, and it will directly call to DB, and from DB it will fetch and it will provide to EY or your user. Okay, but every time if from EY side if you are fetching the same record, okay, like first record you are fetching from employee table, okay, so it will be better to take from cache, not from DB. So why we use cache? So instead of hitting database every time, it will hit the cache. From cache memory, cache it will check data is available or not. If employee ID 1 is available, then it will fetch from cache. Okay, it will not fetch from DB because every time hitting DB is a costly effect. So instead of fetching from the DB, this Spring Boot application will fetch from cache memory. Okay, so in cache memory, your data will be stored as key and value. Okay, so we will see in the time of implementing how can we store in cache memory key and value. It will be stored. Okay, so again, if any employee will fetch with the same employee ID, then this instead of going to DB, it will fetch from cache. Okay, so cache is your that means your request will be faster than DB. Okay, so this is the way by which we can do. So caching, this is the caching mechanism. So we can achieve with the help of the caffeine, ES cache, okay, and Guava, anything you can use according to your uh, im- implementation plan. Okay, so now we are going to see distributed caching. So how can we achieve distributed? Basically we use caching, distributed caching in microservices application, and we use this in memory caching in for single application. We have only one application, single application, and this is for a small application. Okay, so we can use in memory caching. One application is there and one DB is there. Okay, so it is easy to use. And if you have distributed caching, if you have microservices environment, so in that scenario good to use micro distributed caching. Okay, so here multiple servers will be there, multiple server that means multiple application will be there, application 1, application 2. Okay, and so in this is of fetching data from the direct DB. Okay, here it is directly fetching from distributed cache. Okay, so this is the Redis. Okay, you can use Redis for distributed caching. Okay, so firstly it will fetch from cache. If it is not there in cache, then it will directly go to fetch from DB. Okay, it will go and it will fetch from DB. So it is applicable for uh, uh, both the servers. Okay, so this is the way by which we can achieve caching in Spring Boot application. So in upcoming video we'll see in memory cache also, how can we implement in memory caching and how can we implement distributed caching. So we will see one by one. So first when to use what. Okay, so here I have made one table. It will be easy to understand when can we use what. So simple app with one server. Okay, if you have simple use with one server, then in memory will be good, because in memory will be always faster than distributed. Okay, because it is for only one application. So better to use, if it is only one application, so it will be better to use in memory caching mechanism. If it is microservices architecture, then try to use distributed. Need for high speed caching only, then in memory. Okay, if you need a high, then use in memory caching, not distributed. Okay, need for shared or persistent cache, then distributed. So share, that means we use this shared mechanism in microservices architecture. Okay, so if you want to share your cache memory, okay, cache related data, then it will be good to use distributed. Okay, and horizontal scaling uh, and multiple nodes are there, then you can use distributed. Okay, so this is the table by which you can easily understand where can we use in memory caching mechanism and where can we use distributed caching mechanism. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you understood all the point. So in upcoming video we are going to cover implementation of caching in Spring Boot. So firstly we'll try to understand ES cache, then we'll try to understand how can we implement by caffeine, then we'll do by ready. So we'll do one by one. So I hope you understood all the points. So if there is any doubt, so please let me know in comment section. And if you're loving my effort, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye everyone.